Shockingly, just over 2 years ago, June 2013, I had a bad cough that turned out to be pneumonia. The pneumonia led to blood poisoning and sepsis, and I was put on a life-saving machine, almost dead. But fortunately, this life-saving machine, the ECMO machine, was able to save my vital organs and keep me alive, and here I am today. But unfortunately, my outer extremities were starved of oxygenated blood, so I lost both my hands and I lost my legs below the knee as well. So I've had to come back as a quadruple amputee. I've had to learn how to do pretty much everything again, from walking and cycling to driving, and just trying to find life again. So here I am 2 years down the line, but I was fortunate enough to get the chance of becoming a transplant recipient. So I'm waiting for 2 new hands from some very unfortunate donor, but that's been kind enough to donate their organs.
So how does it make you feel when you see that little boy in Baltimore who's had that double hand transplant successfully?
Yeah, can you be jealous of a little boy? It's a terrible shame, isn't it? But he has, his situation's a bit different from mine. I've got a lot of antibodies, and I'm a harder match because I had blood transfusions and I've had a child, and so I'm a harder match. So he was very lucky to get them quickly, and that probably was never going to be the case for me. So I need to be a bit more patient to get the right match. But well, what do you say? You don't want the wrong match. You don't want it to be a mistake. You don't want rejection. So of course you just try to be as patient, and I'm delighted for him. What a second chance for him, and I'm sure it'll make all the difference in the world to him. And if I could, I'd have my fingers crossed for him.
Well, Corinne, talking to you now, we know that you've already been out zip wiring today. You've climbed Ben Nevis as well. Anyone who's familiar with your story, you've done all sorts of endeavours, particularly for charity, over the last couple of years. Why would you put yourself through the process of a hand transplant now, given what you've achieved so far?
I think probably all of those things make my life feel positive. And as I see it, you have 2 choices, and the alternative one is a negative one where you stay at home and don't do things. I have a 6-year-old boy who I need to see. I need for him to see an example. I need to be alive and living for him. So when I do all these madcap things, partly doing it for him, partly doing it for me, partly doing it for the charity, but it makes me feel good and alive, and that's so much better than the alternative.
Well, you've been accepted for the process, but what sort of preparations do you have to undergo in the coming months? Well,
prior to being accepted onto the donor list, there was a lot of psychological tests. There was a lot of checks that they needed to do on me to make sure that I could cope with this process, which obviously you can never tell. But yeah, I'm hoping I had the right balance of independence and trying to be dynamic. I want this to work. I want hands more than anything, but I'm also cautious, and I'm going to do as I'm told in terms of the drugs. So hopefully I've got the balance right. But that was the preparation before I even had a choice to make. They had to decide if I was right for them.
I understand you're going with that pioneering team in Leeds. You've had some great success so far, but are you concerned about the various risks involved?
Absolutely, the utmost confidence in these guys. They've gone through every possible scenario that I could think of. Every I has been dotted and T has been crossed. There wasn't a single question that I could throw in that they hadn't considered. They've also been through it before, so no, I've left it entirely to them. I know they've got it covered, and I think they're absolutely wonderful. Naturally, when it happens, it's going to be very hard for me to go from independent and alive to doing nothing for a good while, where all the things I've learned to do I won't be able to do for a while. That's going to be very hard for me. You'll need to almost tie me down. And then the drugs are pretty horrendous for certainly the first year, and then for the rest of my life I'll have drugs to take. So I'm not particularly looking forward to that. Obviously your body isn't your own, and you don't feel quite yourself. So not looking forward to that, but I've really put that to the back of my head, and I've decided I want this operation and I'll deal with it when it happens. I've dealt with worse.
And in terms of functionality, what have you been told to expect?
They told me to expect 75% functionality, and also what I've got at the moment, although I'm very independent and I cope and I do so much for myself, I think I've got a very small percentage at the moment. So I'm looking for that huge jump. But also, I don't have any underlying illnesses, so I'm hoping that works in my favour. I am so determined and ambitious that I would hope I'd be able to push myself just that wee bit further than previous people have done. And also very fact that I'm a mum and I've got to look after my son, hopefully will work in my favour as well. So yeah, I'm looking for 75% plus functionality. I just want to do everything that they're capable of doing, then you can bet that I'll get it as far as it'll go.
Corinne, it's been a real privilege to talk to you. We wish you all the very best in the coming months.